the vast majority of people listening, right, electricity feels less like an invention.
And more like a law of nature.
Exactly. You flip a switch, the light comes on instantly. There's no hesitation, no delay.
But that simple, reliable action is connected to, well, the single most complex machine humanity has ever built, the global power grid.
And today, we are deep diving into that invisible foundation of our world. Specifically, we're looking at what happens when that foundation just vanishes. Not a storm in one town, but everywhere, globally.
Our source material lays out this precise, chronological, and you said it, frankly, terrifying collapse.
So our mission here is to give you a detailed roadmap of that silent process.
Because the core insight, the thing that really drives the entire collapse, is that electricity isn't something we store in these massive global warehouses.
Right.
It has to be constantly produced and consumed at the exact same moment. It's this living balance happening in real time.
And when you lose that balance, as our sources really emphasize, everything changes faster than you can possibly imagine.
So we have to start with the fundamental mechanics of the grid.
The basic rule.
The critical rule, it's immutable. Supply and demand have to match perfectly, every single second, across continents, across borders.
It's incredible.
In the US, for instance, the AC frequency has to stay in this tiny, tiny window between 59.9 and 60.1 hertz. It's an unbelievably precise, high-speed tightrope walk.
Okay, so if there's a sudden surge in demand, or I guess in this scenario, a massive loss of supply, like the major power plant just trips offline,
then the frequency immediately starts to fall.
Right.
And when that frequency deviates too far, the whole system is actually designed to protect itself.
Wow.
Instead of letting the frequency drop to a point where it would destroy all this expensive generation equipment, the generators themselves, coal, nuclear, hydro, it doesn't matter, they automatically trip themselves offline.
Oh, wow.
And that's the cascading shutdown.
That makes the reality so visceral. It doesn't just degrade. It commits institutional suicide to protect its own parts.
Leading to a system-wide collapse that is, for all intents and purposes, instantaneous.
So our sources confirm this. A global outage wouldn't be a flicker.
No, it would be immediate dead silence across huge swaths of territory. And crucially, it wouldn't start with widespread panic.
No, the initial psychological shock it's just confusion.
Right. You'd assume it's a local problem.
The building fuse, maybe a neighborhood transformer failed. Your first instinct is just patience. We've been trained our whole lives that these systems fix themselves. You wait a few minutes, maybe an hour.
But the sources really stress that the waiting wouldn't last long, because while that psychological shock is setting in, the physical world, it doesn't pause.
Here's where it gets really interesting. The speed of that transition. From patience to paralysis. The illusion of a small local problem fades so quickly as the effects of a system-wide failure become visible.
In the most basic ways imaginable.
So within minutes, we see immediate physical paralysis. Transportation is the first thing to just seize up. Traffic lights stop working instantly. But the source material is clear. That's just the very, very beginning.
Movement, which is really the lifeblood of any modern city, it slows dramatically, and you have to think beyond the stoplight. Subway trains freeze.
Right, potentially mid-tunnel or between stations.
Trapping thousands of people. Elevators stop, trapping people mid-floor in skyscrapers.
And what struck me in the notes was the level of granular failure. It's not just car traffic. Think about the rail lines.
Oh, absolutely.
All the complex signaling systems that manage high-speed commuter rail, freight rail, they just vanish. Tracks are instantly rendered impassable and dangerous.
Because there's no centralized control, no indication of where any train is relative to another.
And globally, air travel is grounded.
Planes already in the air, they can land. They have their own internal power for flight controls. But the entire ground operation is dead.
No fuel pumps.
No baggage scanning, no air traffic control radar screens, nothing. So airports suspend all departures instantly. The global airspace just begins to empty out, surprisingly fast, actually.
So as that initial confusion becomes paralysis, the communication networks are next. They fail shortly after, usually within a few hours.
And that's when our abstract, digital existence just slams into concrete physical reality.
Because cell towers rely on backup batteries.
Short-term backups, yeah. Designed for minor outages. They might last a few hours, maybe a day. If they're really well maintained, then they die.
And our phones become silent, useless rectangles.
And the sources emphasize it's not just the phone in your hand, the internet, which feels so decentralized and invisible.
Just evaporates. It's a physical thing.
It is absolutely a physical infrastructure. The fiber optic backbone runs on repeaters that need electricity every, 50 to 100 miles just to boost the signal.
And data centers.
Yeah.
The cloud.
Data centers shut down, servers go dark, cloud services, bank records, all institutional communication, the entire infrastructure of how we share information, it goes silent because there is no power. And this failure of communication is immediately followed by the collapse of the financial world.
Because the modern economy is just a system of electronic verification. It's built on trust and connectivity.
And when that connectivity dies, trust vanishes. Instantly.
The moment card readers stop responding and digital payments fail, that's it. Banking systems are offline. Our money is still somewhere.
But it's completely inaccessible.
Well,
your digital ledger, your balance, it's recorded. But without the power to run the verification servers, the system that confirms you are you and that the money is where it's supposed to be, the currency is worthless.
ATMs just become inert metal boxes.
The most powerful economic institutions in the world are rendered powerless in a moment.
But wait, our sources do mention that some legacy systems, maybe military communications or some private hardened fiber lines, they might stay functional for longer.
That's a crucial distinction, yes.
So does that mean the financial world stalls completely? Or are there little pockets of verification that could theoretically survive?
Well, those highly isolated specialized systems might survive for a time, sure, but the public financial system, the one we all use, it requires mass verification. High-speed data transfer across enormous distances.
So the failure of the public infrastructure causes an instant catastrophic loss of trust across the whole ecosystem.
Exactly, which causes this immediate and, frankly, shocking value shift described in the sources.
In a matter of hours, cash becomes king.
Not because it's safer.
No, but because it's tangible.
Yeah.
It requires no electronic verification. It needs no power source to be traded.
It forces everyone back to the lowest common denominator of transactional trust. It reveals the speed at which we revert. The entire global system loses its ability to function the moment it can't check who owns what in real time globally.
So as hours stretch into days, the consequences shift from, economic panic to a direct threat to critical life support.
We begin the countdown on essentials.
Starting with healthcare, hospitals switch immediately to generators, keeping critical patients alive, keeping operating rooms lit.
But this introduces this massive systemic irony that our sources highlight. Generators run on fuel, right? Diesel, gasoline.
But fuel deliveries require complex logistics.
And logistics require coordination, which requires communication, which requires electricity.
So even the emergency systems are standing on borrowed time. They're completely dependent on the very systems that have already failed.
Let's trace that dependency. A delivery truck needs fuel.
But the gas pump is electric.
The driver needs to use digital means to pay for that fuel.
But the credit card network is dead.
And the refinery needs power to pump and process the fuel in the first place.
It's a complete loop of dependency.
It is. The logistical chain breaks down at every single point. It's not just that the fuel runs out, it's that the ability to move the fuel that does exist stops almost immediately.
So a hospital might have fuel for 3 days, maybe a week, but they can't resupply.
They cannot.
And the food system unravels just as fast, revealing how fragile urban living really is.
Modern cities run on just-in-time delivery. There's often only, 3 to 5 days of food supply in major metropolitan areas.
And refrigeration fails across that entire supply chain, in transport, in warehouses, in grocery stores.
Food spoils fast. Deliveries stop because the entire transportation system is seized up. Supermarkets are empty way faster than anyone expects.
Which reveals this complete lack of local storage capability in dense populations.
And then there's the one we often overlook, but it's maybe the most essential.
The water problem, the public health crisis. We take clean water and sanitation for granted.
Water treatment plants struggle immediately. Pumping stations, which are essential for moving water uphill into pressurized systems, they slow down and then they stop.
And critically, the sewer systems.
Which rely on lift stations and pumps to move waste out of cities. They cease functioning.
So it's a double failure.
Yeah.
No clean drinking water coming in.
And a massive sewage overflow potential going out, which introduces immediate and severe public health risks. It pushes conditions backward rapidly.
If we connect this to the bigger picture,
Yeah.
you see this complete shift. As days pass, modern life starts to resemble something far older, almost primitive in its limits.
Information travels only by foot or maybe by car if you have gas, local communities become isolated islands, forced to rely only on what they immediately possess. And it's just so crucial to understand the ultimate cause of this as determined by the sources.
Right.
The failure wasn't caused by a single dramatic external attack or some kind of villain. It was caused by complexity and optimization.
The system was designed to be hyper-efficient, maximizing energy delivery with the smallest possible footprint. But in doing that, it left no room for error.
Correct. The design flaw is that the global grid was never built with a fail-safe, a generalized shutdown and restart procedure in mind.
It was designed under the assumption that not everything would fail at the same time.
And this relentless optimization, this pursuit of efficiency, it sacrificed resilience.
So while all this is happening, centralized government communication breaking down, our sources detail that critical infrastructure and military bases are busy securing isolated, independent microgrids.
They have the capability to disconnect and maintain their own power.
And this is key.
It is, because power returns unevenly. Some regions might get it back quickly, others days or even weeks later. It's a slow, painful process of regional rebalancing.
And this exposes the invisible hierarchy of importance that underpins our society, doesn't it?
It does. Who gets power first? Military, essential medical, critical data infrastructure.
So what does this all mean? When the lights eventually do turn back on, the world might look the same, but the perception of its permanence, that has fundamentally changed.
The lesson learned is profound. People realize how thin that line is. Electricity no longer feels invisible or like a law of nature. It feels intensely, frighteningly fragile.
They finally understand how dependent every single element of modern life, from finance to clean water, is on a perfect, real-time balance they had never even thought to question before.
We built a world where we prioritize speed and efficiency, and in doing so, we essentially built this complex high-speed machine with glass components.
So this raises a really important question. The greatest threat to modern civilization isn't some obvious external threat.
It's the sheer complexity and interconnectedness of the systems we trust so completely that we forget what happens when they stop. We optimize for function, but we sacrifice the capacity for recovery.
So consider the simple act of plugging in your phone. Before this deep dive, you never doubted it would charge. Now, knowing what you know about the instantaneous nature of frequency collapse, the fragility of communication repeaters, the logistical breakdown of fuel delivery, what element of that vast, complex, perfectly balanced system do you think is the weakest link?
What happens when one critical piece of that constant, silent trust fails?
Something to think about until the next time we dive in.